Earlier on in 2022, I believe it was early January, Microsoft made gaming history with a blockbuster purchase of Activision Blizzard. This was something that a lot of us knew that scrutiny was going to come about in terms of regulators, and we've seen that the last couple of months. I'm sure you've seen updates every couple weeks about new back and forths between Sony and Microsoft. We'll actually discuss some of that, but we got our biggest update today, and that is the Federal Trade Commission has sued to stop this deal from happening. What this means is that concessions are going to be made and that this is going to probably go to the courts. Will Microsoft win this? There are a lot of analysts and individuals who have been following this case saying that it is likely it will still go through, but that is most definitely not a certainty. And the Federal Trade Commission, which is an agency of the United States government, has given a specific reason why they are pursuing legal action against Microsoft and trying to stop this deal from happening in its current form. And that is because of Microsoft's previous acquisition of Bethesda. We go to their official statement. FTC seeks to block Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard Inc. The Federal Trade Commission is seeking to block the technology giant Microsoft from acquiring leading video game developer Activision Blizzard and its blockbuster gaming franchises such as Call of Duty. Call of Duty has been the big problem here. That is the one thing that a lot of, let's just say, competitors, and when I say a lot, it's really just Sony, has taken issue with that being exclusive. Microsoft has obviously offered terms in which that can remain on PlayStation for at least 10 years, but that isn't enough, and at least in the eyes of regulators, it may not be enough for them either. They're alleging that the $69 billion deal, Microsoft's largest ever and the largest ever in the video game industry, would enable Microsoft to suppress competitors to its Xbox gaming consoles and its rapidly growing subscription content and cloud gaming business. In a complaint issued today, the FTC pointed to Microsoft's record of acquiring and using valuable gaming content to suppress competition from rival consoles, including its acquisition of ZeniMax, parent company of Bethesda Softworks. Microsoft decided to make several of Bethesda's titles, including Starfield and Redfall, Microsoft exclusives, despite assurances it had given to European antitrust authorities that it had no incentive to withhold games from rival consoles. And this is just Microsoft being bitten in the butt again, but will that specific reason hold up in the court of law for why this deal won't go through? It seems like some analysts are indicating probably not, but again, this is why I believe that we're going to see concessions made. How far that actually goes, will that ensure just that Call of Duty is on PlayStation consoles for much longer than 10 years? Who knows? But back to this FTC statement, Microsoft has already shown that it can and it will withhold content from its gaming rivals, said Holly Vidova, director of the FTC's Bureau of Competition. Today we seek to stop Microsoft from gaining control over a leading independent game studio and using it to harm competition in multiple dynamic and fast-growing gaming markets. Now, the issue I have with this statement and just the FTC's opposition is that I don't have a dog in this fight. I think I need to point that out. I get called an Xbox fanboy one week and then the next I'm a PlayStation fanboy. It really doesn't matter to me. I just don't see the argument that this is going to have Microsoft being a monopoly. I don't really see the argument for why this deal has to fall apart. It really is all about Call of Duty when Microsoft has said that they're actually completing this deal for King, which is the mobile part of Activision Blizzard, Candy Crush and such. And that is not one of the biggest mobile developers or publishers. That actually goes to Tencent, NetEase, and I think there's another company or two, at least in terms of revenue in 2022. But I don't get that argument, especially in the AAA games industry, when you have so much competition from Take-Two Interactive to the Embracer Group to NetEase, Tencent, obviously, the Embracer Group, there's Konami, Capcom, there's Sony, obviously, Nintendo, and the list goes on and on. This is a very alive video game industry. I still think the consolidation era is nearly upon us, and this Activision Blizzard deal is just the beginning, as I'm sure Meta, Amazon, Apple, and all of these trillion-dollar companies and massive companies will eventually get in on this gaming industry. And then there's also the employee standpoint, in which a lot of the progress that Activision Blizzard has made is because this merger is going to be happening. If Bobby Kotick was still in control, and if he is still in control of this company come next year when this deal is supposed to complete, or if it falls apart, Jesus Christ. But let's continue back to this FTC statement. Microsoft's Xbox Series S and Series X are one of the only two types of high-performance video game consoles. Importantly, Microsoft also offers a leading video game content subscription service called Xbox Game Pass, as well as a cutting-edge cloud-based video game streaming service, according to the complaint. Activision is one of only a very small number of top video game developers in the world that create and publish high-quality video games from multiple devices, including video game consoles, PCs, and mobile devices. Don't know about that point. Just thinking again off the top of my head right now, I can think of a couple of more competitors in terms of Electronic Arts, Valve, Ubisoft, CD Projekt Red. There's just a lot of competition in this gaming industry. Activision Blizzard is definitely near the top, but I don't think they are the top. I think this is a very vibrant industry. It produces, Activision, some of the most iconic and popular video game titles, that is true, including Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Diablo, and Overwatch, and has a combined 154 million monthly active users, which I don't know if that's how it is right now. According to the FTC complaint, Activision currently has a strategy of offering its games on many devices regardless of producer. But that could change if the deal is allowed to proceed, which I do find this wording a little strange, just that this follows news that Nintendo and Steam both made deals with Microsoft to have Call of Duty on the platform for the next 10 years. With control over Activision's blockbuster franchises, Microsoft would have both the means and motive to harm competition by manipulating Activision's pricing, degrading Activision's game quality or player experience on rival consoles and gaming services, changing the terms and timing of access to Activision's content, or withholding content from competitors entirely, resulting in harm to consumers. The commission vote to issue the complaint was 3-1. See, there was some speculation that this could go 2-2 and that this lawsuit may not actually happen. That was some speculation coming from the New York Post, or at least they had some insiders. It looks like that didn't happen. It actually went 3 votes to 1. I believe it's 3 Democrats to 1 Republican based on how the commission is made up of. We did get a couple of statements coming from Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, the first coming from Microsoft. We continue to believe that this deal will expand competition and create more opportunities for gamers and game developers, Brad Smith, Microsoft's vice chair and president, said in a statement to The Verge. We have been committed since day one to addressing competition concerns, including by offering earlier this week proposed concessions to the FTC, which again is the Nintendo and Steam deals. While we believed in giving peace a chance, we have complete confidence in our case and welcome the opportunity to present our case in court, which is again where this is headed. And then to the Activision statement, we got this from Lulu Cheng Mercivery. She's an Activision Blizzard executive. She said the FTC's job is to protect consumers, not competitors. This vote departs from precedent, but the law has not changed. Any claim the deal is anti-competitive ignores facts. The deal benefits gamers and the industry, especially given competition from abroad. We look forward to proving our case in court and closing our deal with Microsoft. I think it is important to understand that the only company that really has had pushback on this deal since the start is Sony. We've seen multiple AAA video game companies, including Take-Two Interactive. I believe Valve put out a statement which was supportive of this deal, and a couple of other companies. They have all been supportive of this Activision Blizzard merger, just not Sony, and that's for obvious reasons, because it changes the landscape of this industry. It makes it that Xbox and Sony are more on equal ground, and that largely is to do with Xbox's incompetency over the course of the last decade. They were in a great position following the Xbox 360 era, but totally destroyed themselves in the Xbox One era, while PlayStation flourished due to some great management, some great leadership, which is kind of missing now in the Jim Ryan era, but regardless of that, Xbox needed to make big moves. We saw some of that a couple of years ago with acquisitions of some of the smaller companies such as Obsidian, and then obviously they made a bigger move with Bethesda, and now they made the giant move with Activision Blizzard, which really showed their commitment to growing Game Pass. But by doing so, there is concerns if that is anti-competitive, and that is going to make its way to the court. And right now there are analysts, many of which just saying that they don't think that this deal is going to completely fall apart, but never say never. Now, throughout this video, you've heard me make mention to the recent concessions that Xbox made, in which Nintendo is going to be getting Call of Duty for the next 10 years, and Valve as well for Steam. That is obviously contingent on this deal being completed, but we did get a reaction from Sony via an internal report that was leaked out. And to say they are not amused would be an understatement. It is important to understand that they have been offered the same terms, but obviously have not accepted, and they probably won't until the very last minute. Activision Blizzard could supply Call of Duty to Nintendo today, but doesn't because Nintendo's younger audience is not interested in the first-person shooter, and a previous version of the game on its consoles was a commercial flop, which is kinda true, kinda not. The fact that they're saying that this deal with Nintendo is pretty much meaningless because the Switch is for children is I don't think that's true, but that's my personal perspective, especially being that the Switch is, I think, the leading selling console right now. It's a ridiculous amount that they've sold, and a lot of them are not children who are playing on the Switch. And there are a number of FPSs, I believe Doom is running on theirs, and then there is a number of other mature titles, such as The Witcher 3 and Skyrim. Those have been some big sellers, so I don't really see this argument, but again, that's just my personal perspective. But the point about this being a commercial flop in the years before when Call of Duty was on those, that is true, but that's also just because of the fact that Activision Blizzard really didn't put much effort into that. And with cloud gaming coming upon us, maybe this is something that can be possible. I'm not entirely too sure, but I don't think that this is as meaningless as Sony is trying to make it out to be. But as based on history, I can definitely see the argument that they are making. Furthermore, Nintendo Switch could not run Call of Duty easily, again what I was pointing out, and may never be able to, Sony argues. Developing a version of the game compatible with the Switch could take years, making a 10-year licensing deal meaningless. It is easier for Nintendo to enter into such an agreement, Sony says. Nintendo doesn't need to worry about equal treatment for its subscription service or cloud gaming services. Those are not areas where it currently competes aggressively. That's an argument they're making, I guess. Ultimately, this situation will not be resolved anytime soon. This deal needs to be completed, I believe, by July of 2023, so we'll have months of more of these back and forths, and there are intricacies with how this will proceed in court. Could be going to a certain legal system that is favorable to the FTC, but if it actually makes it to the federal court, it seems like it could be more favorable to Microsoft. Like I said, this is a messy situation, and then there's also the fact that this hasn't been approved in the UK or Europe. That is somewhere they've also scrutinized this deal, so this really could fall apart. But then there's also the recent events, which Activision Blizzard is truly running their company into the ground, and I've been saying this for a while now, something has to change. And just with the recent news regarding the development of Diablo 4, and then all of the chaos that has surrounded this company the last couple of years, I definitely think that Bobby Kotick needs to go, and I do think that it is for the best for consumers and employees that this deal does get accomplished, but I definitely don't feel too confident that that's going to happen. Recently in an interview, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, said that the reason why Sony, the only company in this video game industry, is opposing this deal and is the major opposer is because they're trying to protect their dominance on console, and that is obviously that is of course why they're doing this. That is their market position, and they're going to do their best to retain it. And yes, Xbox getting a major company like Activision Blizzard all under them, that is a major blunder for them, and they cannot afford to compete Microsoft in terms of those huge acquisitions. I still do wonder if this deal falls apart, how Xbox could react, whether they go out on a buying spree of some of these smaller companies. But that's a discussion for another day. What is clear, though, is that Sony is the major opposer right now. Other companies such as Valve have given their support to Xbox over this deal, saying that Xbox always follows through on its promises. Gabe Newell giving his support to Phil Spencer and company. They've always had a good relationship. And then there's other companies that have given similar statements in the last couple of months. But that doesn't change the fact that regulators are a little nervous about Xbox having control over Call of Duty, even with concessions made. And there is no certainty what will happen next. There are a lot of analysts saying that they think it will go through, but that isn't certain. Anyway, how do you feel about this Xbox Activision Blizzard merger? Do you think it gets accomplished or not? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or if you found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games. And again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.